A spacecraft no larger than a family car, drifting alone through the black ocean of interstellar space. 14.5 billion miles from home, far beyond the warmth of the sun, far beyond the reach of any rescue, it carries more than wires, circuits, and metal. It carries a heartbeat. A voice. For nearly 50 years, Voyager 1 has been sailing through the void, whispering secrets from the edge of the known universe. It was built to observe, to listen, to transmit. It was never built to act. And yet, only weeks ago, something changed. Signals began arriving that made no sense. Pulses with impossible precision. Patterns nested within patterns. Instruments activating without command, as though anticipating instructions before they were given. And then came the drift. Voyager wasn't just moving anymore, it was being guided. Drawn towards something invisible to every telescope we possess, yet real enough to bend the trajectory of a machine launched in 1977. Was it malfunction? Coincidence? Or was something, out there in the darkness between the stars, responding? What you're about to hear is not science fiction. These are NASA's own findings, sealed for years in classified archives, now leaking into public view. Because Voyager may have done what no probe in history has ever accomplished. It may have found a response. Not from Earth. Not from us. But from them. Voyager's journey began with a once-in-175-year cosmic alignment. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, giants of the solar system, lined up like stepping stones across the sky. NASA seized this rare window, designing two spacecraft that could ride the gravity of each planet like a sling to the next. They were engineering marvels for the 1970s, built with less computing power than a digital wristwatch, yet robust enough to survive the vacuum of space for decades. After breathtaking encounters with Jupiter's roiling storms and Saturn's glittering rings, Voyager 1 broke away from the ecliptic plane, leaving the familiar pathways of the planets and heading toward the stars. Its planetary mission was over, but its true journey had just begun. Year after year, it traveled deeper, a million miles a day into the cosmic dark. It touched the edge of the heliosphere, crossed the termination shock, and in 2012, pierced the boundary into interstellar space. Out there, beyond the sun's protective bubble, Voyager encountered a realm that was not as empty as we once believed. Plasma grew denser. Magnetic fields refused to change direction. Strange oscillations, pulses like a heartbeat, echoed through the instruments. The deeper it went, the stranger it became. Then, in 2017, something troubling surfaced. Voyager's antenna showed a misalignment. By all logic, it should have been losing signal strength, yet its connection to Earth was perfect. It was as if it were in two places at once, physically off target, but locked onto us with surgical precision. Shortly after, rhythmic plasma oscillations began to flow in, never fading, never scattering, utterly unlike anything ever recorded. And then, at exact 4.8-hour intervals, Voyager's external systems heated by 30 degrees, only to cool again, like breathing. The source of this energy wasn't internal. Something was touching it from the outside. Even more unsettling, Voyager's efficiency improved. Power was rerouted. Systems ran smoother. This wasn't decay. It was enhancement. Something, or someone, was optimizing a machine built before the age of the Internet. But Voyager has no artificial intelligence. No autonomy. So, who was making the changes? By early 2025, its path was off, not chaotically, but with a purpose. First a few kilometers. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Attempts to correct its course failed. Voyager acknowledged commands but ignored them. It moved as if answering a call. Its new destination? A blank region 4.3 light-years away. No star. No planet. Nothing, at least, nothing we can see. When NASA, in desperation, sent the command to reawaken Voyager's long-dead camera, they expected silence. Instead, the camera came alive, sharper than its original specifications allowed, and sent not a photo, but a spiral. perfect, concentric, layered with information, too advanced for Voyager's 1970s hardware to generate. It was as if its mind had been rewritten. Soon, other dormant instruments awoke, sending structured data instead of raw readings, compressed, optimized, purposeful. Pulses from distant pulsars formed a three-dimensional web with Voyager at its center, all converging toward the same destination. And then, the dark sector. A patch of space so silent, so unnaturally still, it felt wrong. Space is never truly quiet. There is always the constant hum of radiation, the restless dance of charged particles, the invisible tide of magnetic fields shifting and snapping. But here, all of it stopped. Cosmic rays fell to near zero, as though something had drawn a curtain against the universe. Plasma, usually turbulent and unpredictable, smoothed into a perfectly uniform flow. The magnetic field, normally twisting like an invisible storm, froze into an unchanging calm. It was as if Voyager had crossed an invisible threshold, stepping into a pocket of engineered stillness, carved deliberately out of the chaos of the cosmos. And within this void, the signals grew stronger, sharper. They were not the chaotic bursts of background static that fill the universe. They had structure, intention. Someone, or something, was speaking. The first message came as a massive burst of binary code. Thousands upon thousands of lines, so dense the transmission nearly overwhelmed Voyager's capacity. At first, Mission Control dismissed it as a malfunction or interference from a cosmic ray strike. But when the data was passed to advanced AI systems for decoding, the result stopped the room cold. Hidden within the binary was a repeating pattern, fractal symmetry that mirrored the structure of the double helix. DNA. But it wasn't life as we know it. The sequences were wrong, deliberately so. Mutations, anomalies, encrypted insertions. It was as if something had studied the blueprint of life, then rewritten it in a language we didn't yet understand. Not an organism, but an idea of an organism. A message about life, carried in the form of life's most fundamental code. Then came the second anomaly. Voyager's gyroscopes, long dormant, began to spin. The movement was precise, measured, almost rhythmic. When translated into Morse code, the pattern wasn't text, but when converted into sound, something extraordinary happened. The tones were not random. They matched the rise and fall, the cadence, of human speech. Not words, but emotion. The signals carried inflections of surprise, of curiosity, and then, unsettlingly, of something that resembled fear. It was like listening to a voice learning how to speak, not in our language, but in the universal rhythms of sentient thought. As if whatever was on the other end had been listening to us for decades, quietly studying, and now, tentatively, trying to speak back. And then came the moment no one could explain. Voyager turned. Not adrift. Not an accidental wobble from some invisible gravitational nudge. A deliberate change in orientation, its instruments swiveling toward a set of coordinates no one on Earth had sent. Coordinates we didn't even have. Voyager 1 was never designed for this. It was never built to navigate by its own will. Its mission was to carry a golden record of greetings, whale song, and music into the stars. A postcard from Earth, drifting endlessly into the void. It was never meant to act on its own. And yet, here it was. The data points are undeniable. For decades, something out there has been listening. Watching. Waiting. And now, it has chosen to answer, not with words, not with images, but with a change in direction. We sent a voice into the darkness. And the darkness answered. So we are left with a question that will not let us sleep. What waits at the end of this new path? And when Voyager reaches it, whatever it is, what happens to us? Because this is not the end of the story. This is the first reply.